Hey, welcome back to the Johnny Klein Experience, where we talk about the latest and greatest movie news. We discuss it, break it down. Got a really good episode today for you guys with some juicy movie news. We're going to be talking one battle after another. We got some Passion of the Christ sequel news. We got James Spader is returning as Ultron. Going to be discussing that. So we got a good show for you guys today. So just sit back, relax, and let's get on into it. So, one battle after another. I haven't seen it yet, but it came out just a couple weeks ago, maybe like 3 weeks ago. And anyway, it ain't looking good for it. Right now, it is projected to lose $100 million in the theatrical run. So, this comes to us from Variety, and it says, one battle after another projected to lose $100 million theatrically, as Smashing Machine and others also struggle due to oversized budgets. So it talks about, a guy that breaks all this down. He's talking about the industry, yada, yada. But then he says, even Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another, led by Leonardo DiCaprio, struggled to break out despite being hailed as a generational masterpiece. Though the global haul of $140 million is impressive for a film that's original, R-rated, and nearly 3 hours, like Oppenheimer, and nearly 3 hours long, one battle requires roughly $300 million to break even. That's crazy. That's because Warner Bros. Spent more than $130 million on production and $70 million on promotional efforts. And ticket sales are typically split 50-50 between studios and theater operators. Meanwhile, and this is an important thing, DiCaprio typically gets first dollar gross on his movies, meaning he gets a percentage of box office revenue before the studio recoups any cost. One Battle After Another, which is mounting a multi-million-dollar Oscar campaign, is tracking to lose $100 million according to studio executives, with knowledge of the economics of similar-sized films. And we'll skip that. So I don't think it really goes on to say too much more about One Battle After Another. But anyway, here are my thoughts on this. Is these movies have just the cost to make them and what the studios are greenlighting in terms of their budget to finance them have just gotten out of control. Like, we can't keep spending. What was it? It was $130 million production cost and $70 million on promo. That's what it's saying. Usually they spend a little bit more than that. I mean, yeah, I could see it being closer to $100 million in promo. So these films that are these original films are coming out of the gate spending $130 million on production value alone, which makes sense because you have Paul Thomas Anderson, right? A big director. So he's going to get a big paycheck and probably back end points as well, meaning he makes revenue or a percent on the back end. Then you have Leonardo DiCaprio, who traditionally he usually gets back end points. Now he's getting, a percent of first dollar. So before the studio can recoup any money, he's taking money himself. And traditionally, Leo is getting, $20 million a movie. So my guess is that Leo upfront got $20+ million for this. And then he's taken probably, I don't know, something between 10 to 20 and back in, traditionally, I think. And for Inception, he ended up getting like $50 million total dollars. I think his salary was $20 million. And then he got like an additional, it was a crazy number, like an additional 20 to 30 million just off the back end. So like, no wonder these movies are so expensive, because then you're also going to have the Benicio del Toro, because he's in it. He's going to be getting paid a lot because he's a big actor right now. Sean Penn, he's going to be getting paid a lot. I don't really know anybody else in the movie. But for this type of movie, right, it's not an event movie. The market is just really quite narrow for this type of movie to be made and to get a lot of people out to the movie. It's a 3-hour movie. Basically, I think it was like upper 240s or something like that. It's R-rated. So therefore you exclude, a lot in the audience, a bunch of kids and younger people and people that just don't want to go see R-rated movies. So you're excluding, that. So the market that you're going after is very narrow, and you just can't keep spending this much money. Anthony Mackie talks about movie stars, and that no longer are we living in the era of movie stars. Traditionally, from 40s all the way up to specific 90s for sure, 2000s as well. It started shifting in I would say the early to mid 2000s, where people used to go to a movie for Brad Pitt, for Sylvester Stallone, for Arnold Schwarzenegger. These big names could get people to the movies. But as we're seeing, I mean, this isn't happening anymore. What this new age is IP, right? Like the Avengers, like Anthony Mackie specifies, the Falcon or Captain America. The name of the actor itself aren't bringing people to the movies, because who are two of the biggest stars in the world right now? Leonardo DiCaprio and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Both of their movies that just came out this month are flopping, and they're getting paid a huge salary to be in this, and yet they're still flopping. So they're going to have to make an adjustment, because the studios just can't. Because at the end of the day, these studios have to make money, or they're not going to keep making these movies. That's just the way that it goes. So what I think needs to start happening is either one, these movie stars they basically take lower salaries up front, and then maybe on back end points, not first dollar, but on the back end of profit, maybe can have a good deal structure set up. But they can't keep making $20 million up front for these, mid-sized movies. But what I think needs to happen, if they don't do that, is the studios need to go to other actors, smaller actors like Austin Butler, who are probably going to cost, 1/6 of that to be in it. And I think probably pull close to as, many people as Leo. I don't think Leonardo's name carries the weight that it used to. Early 2000s, yes. 90s, yes. But now, again, $20 million for Leonardo DiCaprio, and then a percent of first dollar. That is wild. And I think that's part of the problem with these movies right now, is we're paying these stars too much up front, and the demand isn't there for these stars. It used to be, but it's not anymore. So that's one way I think that they can get these budgets down. Another way to make this achievable is to do something similar to what Apple did with Killers of the Flower Moon. I think it was Paramount who was the distribution company, and Apple acted as the finance company. So Apple paid to get the movie made, which was like a crazy budget. It was like 200, I think it was like 200 or over $200 million. Apple paid for that. Paramount distributed it. Basically, they paid for all the marketing and the ability to get into theaters. And then, so from there, Apple basically used that as a marketing strategy, and then released Killers of the Flower Moon on streaming. And so, yes, they covered a lot up front, and I think they covered everything up front, but they basically saw it as a means to an end to get hype and get awards buzz, because Apple's wanting to position themselves as a serious contender in the studio system. They want to be a studio that can win awards and do all those things. You have to have a movie in theaters, though, for it to be a contender for the awards. So that was a strategy by Apple, but them doing that allowed for Paramount to fund the marketing. And so they kind of split the cost of the movie, but it de-risked it kind of for everybody in the process. So that's one strategy that we could use for these kind of smaller niche mid-sized movies. And then also, like I said, just getting smaller stars, because we just can't keep paying, The Rock and Leonardo DiCaprio these insane price tags, because I just don't think that the demand is there for them right now. So that's one thing. Now, the thing, this could still be good for one battle after another in the end. $100 million, I don't think they're going to be able to recoup that. A lot of people are saying, well, with the award season, it's going to get a second run, and then if it wins the award, it's going to have leverage when it goes to streaming. I don't think it's going to make back $100 million. Like, I think that there's no way it makes back $100 million. But I do think that it can recoup, 50, 60 if it wins an award. Like at the Oscars, if it starts winning Oscars, it gets a lot of buzz. They do a re-release of it. That helps. It helps expand in international markets. And then if they win awards, it helps give them leverage to negotiate higher pay when it goes to streaming. So I don't think it's all a loss for One Battle After Another. I think that they're going to, in the end, still lose money. Maybe 20 years down the road, once they've done streaming, maybe not. But for the next foreseeable future, I think it's definitely still going to be a loss. Now, another reason I think that this did bad in theaters was the marketing. Truly, I just don't think that the marketing was very good. The trailers, it targeted a very niche cinephile type of person. Like, the segment that they went after wasn't broad scale. It was, okay, who likes Paul Thomas Anderson? Well, cinephiles. It's not like a household name. It doesn't carry the weight like a Christopher Nolan or James Gunn does. It's, pretty niche. And I feel like they hit on that a lot, and the style of the movie was very like Paul Thomas Anderson style, which is fine. But again, whenever you're spending $130 million, it's not fine because it's segmented. So you have to go broad. So what they should have done for the trailers, in my opinion, is they should have, I don't know, got a really good song, right? You already spent $130 million. Let's spend $1 million more to be able to get a really good song that is nostalgic, that hypes people up, that then broadens it. And then also in the trailer, I never knew what the movie was about. Like, I watched it. First off, it took me about half the trailer to realize that it was Leonardo DiCaprio because he's got the mustache, right? He's got the hat. He's got the big glasses. So you're paying this guy so much money, and in the marketing pieces, you hardly even see the guy. So that didn't really make a lot of sense to me. I didn't know what the movie was about. It was, again, the way that they edited the trailer, it felt like very niche. Didn't feel like it was going to generate a lot of hype, specifically in younger audiences. So that's kind of my main qualms with this and what I think they could have done different. I guess the unfortunate part, and what I wish people would understand when they're making these type of movies, is, again, I haven't seen the movie. I don't know how it ends. I don't even know if it's set up for a sequel. I don't know if the main character dies or doesn't die. But whenever you approach a movie like this and you take a massive risk, spending $130 million plus the marketing budget, you're not, I mean, that's just asking for so much to be able to make back that money. And then when you inevitably don't make back that money, it takes away all opportunities for a sequel. And so, whereas you could do a style like John Wick. So John Wick, a lot of action, a lot of, choreography, CGI. I haven't seen the movie, but my guess is, I haven't seen One Battle After Another. I've seen John Wick. My guess is, if you looked at them side by side, you'd probably guess that they, spent the same amount in terms of production. So I think they should take the John Wick approach. I think John Wick, when they first made John Wick, they spent $20 or $30 million or something like that. Then as it got that cult following, then when it did John Wick 2, I think it went up to $40 million. And by the time it got to the last John Wick, I think they were up to like a $90 million budget, but they still profited because they built up that audience. And so these studios coming out and just risking everything off the get-go, like, you shouldn't do that. How about you do a $40 million movie? You get a smaller name like an Austin Butler, or you just negotiate with Leo to get it to be reasonable and say, hey, look, we're trying to make 3 of these and this could really pay off for you. But don't just throw all this money out front because you're just asking for it to be a failure. And so, yeah, I think the best thing that you can do is work to start building that IP so that hopefully it's good enough that you can get sequels or prequels or whatever, because there's a lot of money in that right now. So yeah, that's unfortunate. My plan is to go see the movie this weekend. So anyway, that's my thoughts. As always, I like to go into Twitter and see what Twitter has got to say about that, or about this movie. So let's get on into Twitter here. See what it's got to say. One Jeff after another. He says, the truth is, it doesn't matter. The movie got made. Nobody gives an F. It's going to win Best Picture and be seen by generations. Well, no, that's not true, because even if it wins Best Picture but it loses money, these type of movies aren't going to get made again. Like, at the end of the day, studios have to make money. That's how this industry works. You can't just have an artist finance their whole movie. The only way that the art gets made is by making money and investors knowing and financiers knowing that they're not going to lose it. That's how art gets made. So you're a loser if you care about this. Josh from Indy, wrong. This is not how y'all framed your sinners. Nobody wants to see Antifa valorized on the big screen. Simple as. I've heard this one a lot. Again, I haven't seen it. I heard that it's not doing good because it's leftist propaganda is what I've heard. Again, I haven't seen it, so I could give an opinion after I watch it. But I've been hearing that a lot. $70 million on promotional efforts. Source. I made it up. Well, I mean, it probably was $70 million or more with that budget. Again, if they spent $130 million on production at a minimum is usually 50%, or marketing is usually at a minimum 50% of that. So it probably was around 70 million or more. Delusional comedy tantrum vomit. Bread says, look at these box office flops. Wizard of Oz, yeah. Fighter, or not Fighter. Brad Pitt. Fight Club. Yes, that was a box office flop. I didn't know Citizen Kane was a box office flop, though. Glad that somebody has already posted a Snyder quote, because this effing pocket watching. Well, listen, these cuss words are gonna get me kicked off YouTube. Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of people talk about its wokeness, so I am curious to see, if it feels like that when I watch it. Is the movie theater the only way the film will make money? Well, no, but it is the primary way it'll make money. You can't expect it to make $100 million within the next few years just on the back end, unless it strikes a really good deal, but like it strikes a good deal with Apple or someone like that. Oh, I love this.
Shut the
Oh.
Shut up! Will you shut up? Shut!
Oh, that's pretty funny. All right, well, all these comments, it's kind of the same thing. I'm seeing a lot of people saying that they think it didn't do good because of like leftist propaganda. And then I see a lot of other people saying that who cares? They're making art. Who cares what it makes? Again, it's got to make money. If it doesn't make money, then future films like this aren't going to get made. So yeah, that actually does matter if we want to get future movies like this made. So anyway, that is my thoughts on it. I guess, what do you guys think? Why do you think that this film isn't doing well? Do you think that, they just spent too much on these actors, or do you think that it was the marketing campaign that wasn't good enough? Why do you think it's not making a profit? Just let me know your thoughts in the comments /chat, and we are going to move on to the next segment. All right. Well, James Spader, who played Ultron, it was just announced this week that he is returning as Ultron in Vision Quest. And, when I heard that, I didn't know if it was just going to be like a cameo, or, if it was just going to be like a flashback scene or something. Well, it was just announced that he actually is going to be getting a lot of screen time, and it seems like he might be the primary villain. So this is what it says, and this comes to us from Geek Tyrant. It says, Vision Quest creator says series features a lot of James Spader and Paul Bettany together. I love that. Marvel fans have a lot to look forward to with Vision Quest, the upcoming Disney Plus series that dives deep into the psyche of one of MCU's most fascinating characters. Showrunner Terry Matalis recently opened up about what to expect from this series, revealing that it won't just revisit Ultron, it'll explore how much of his human side still lingers within the chaos. During Marvel's Phase Hero Live podcast at New York Comic Con 2025, Matalis teased what's shaping up to be one of the MCU's most character-driven stories yet. He confirmed that James Spader and Paul Bettany will share significant screen time together, with their dynamic being at the heart of the show. You do get to see Robot Ultron, but you see a lot of James Spader and a lot of Paul Bettany together. They are very much a core dynamic of the show. He added that the series acts as a delivery system for Bettany and Spader, giving both actors a chance to revisit their Avengers Age of Ultron roles in a new light. Let's see. He confirmed that Vision Quest takes place after WandaVision, following White Vision's journey to discover who or what he truly is. It's about a man going through an identity crisis. This sounds really interesting, by the way. About a man going through an identity crisis, Matalis explained. The story will tackle Vision's ongoing struggle to merge his human emotions with his artificial mind. In a previous interview, Bettany offered even more insight into what the series is headed. We finally get to see what it's like inside of Vision's mind, and more cluttered than you would think, he said. Bettany went on to reveal that Vision's internal system houses multiple AI copies. That's cool. And one of them just might be trouble. He teased that Vision is keeping a psychopath, probably Ultron, locked away behind a firewall, a clear hint that Ultron is still lurking inside. And then it goes on to say they're bringing back Edith, Jocasta, I don't know who that is, as Paladin. I don't know who those people are. And reprising his Iron Man role as Raza. So, that is super fascinating to me. I mean, I think that this sounds awesome. There's actually another video that I want to share that I just remembered. Here we go.
Vision, the mysterious sitcom vibe, then you're gonna be. I got to watch the Vision Quest trailer at New York Comic Con. So here are the three big takeaways I got about the show. Number one is that if you are a fan of WandaVision, the mysterious sitcom vibe, then you're gonna be a fan of this because all that's coming back, but in a different way. Not only is the trailer set to "Welcome to My World" by Jim Reeves, a 1960s song, but it opens up with a human version of Vision walking into a house that we later learn is all in his head, setting up this domestic, mysterious, eerie
sounds a little like
just
WandaVision.
like we got in WandaVision. But this time, instead of it being an illusion, it's just all in his head. We also see the human version of other MCU AIs like Jarvis, Edith, Friday as he walks through the house, which just adds on to this weird, eerie feeling. Number two is that this show is going to have tremendous dialogue, specifically from Vision and Ultron. The dialogue between these two characters was my favorite part of Avengers Age of Ultron, and I know that they're bringing it back from one line spoken in the trailer by Ultron, and I quote, "I see you, Vision. You're a ghost haunting your footsteps, but the past doesn't make one want to live, the future does."
That's sick. That's a good quote. I mean, come on. What this kid saying, Jinx P, I guess is his name. Yeah, the dialogue. I mean, that's something I hadn't really thought of. The dialogue between Vision and Ultron, that's gonna be sick. That's gonna be like two Shakespeares just going at it.
The third and final thing that I learned from this trailer is that this show is going to focus heavily on Tommy Maximoff. One of the cool things about Agatha all along was the fact that they kept it a secret that this was a story about Billy Maximoff, the son of Wanda and Vision. However, in Vision Quest, they straight up showed us in the trailer Tommy Maximoff, told us it was Tommy Maximoff, and told us that he had a family and he was looking for them. So a big point in the show is probably Vision going to look for his son Tommy, and we already know that Billy is also looking for Tommy, which means by the end of this show, I think we will see the big happy family back together. The trailer for Vision Quest got me extremely excited, and I really hope that you...
Yeah, I mean, that sounds cool. I'm not huge like on the, I don't know, the kid aspect of it. I just really want this to focus on Vision. I will say this. When I heard they were making a Vision Quest, I wasn't excited. Really at all. I just figured it was going to be another Marvel TV show, and you know, like those haven't been that good. WandaVision was good. Let's see, Loki was good. Other than that, you know, that's what we got. So I wasn't excited. However, after reading and hearing all this, I'm excited now. I think that this could actually be really cool. Like it sounds like it's going to be a psychological thriller. And the fact that you're bringing back not just Ultron, but you're bringing back James Spader as Ultron. And then we're going to get James Spader in real life. They're probably doing that because the CGI is just too expensive. So I think this is a smart way to cut down on the cost. But either way, James Spader is one of the greatest working actors. So that's going to be great. I love the fact that they're bringing back him both as Ultron and as James Spader, like in real life. I think that's going to be really quite cool. And Ultron, whenever it came out in 2015, Age of Ultron, there was a lot of people that were like hating on that movie and hating on Ultron. Not like really hating on Ultron, but like they just said it was a weak villain. But I feel like he's aged very well, specifically as we're getting in like the age of AI. I feel like people are really starting to give Ultron his flowers as a villain, and I think they should, because I think Ultron is one of the greatest comic book villains. I mean, the lines that he spits in Age of Ultron is amazing. Gosh, I have a hair in my mouth. So I assume Ultron is going to be the vision or the main villain in this. I think that it's going to be in his head a lot, it sounds like, and I think it's going to be, my guess is that Ultron is maybe trying to take over the body of Vision. So I'm curious to see that battle. But yeah, it kind of sounds like a cool, like, psychological thriller, like a Fincher type psychological thriller or something. So anyway, let's go to Twitter to see what the people have to say about this. Let's hear straight from the peeps. Okay, let's see. Okay, it's shared. All right. He will also play human form of Ultron equals we have no budget for CGI. Yep, that's what I was saying. But that doesn't mean it's a bad idea. As long as his human form is literally this fit. Oh, that's James Spader from, what's it called? Oh, Blacklist. That's actually a really good show. I've only seen a few episodes, but it's good. That reminds me of the Martin Scorsese meme. Absolute cinema. Oh, this scene's so good. I don't want to play it on here because I don't know how YouTube, if they'll take down the video because of it. It says Spader's voice and presence were too good to waste. Bringing him back in human form is such a smart move. Man Devil 23. I'm with you, man. Or woman. I guess you're Man Devil, so man. We're never getting this look for Ultron, are we? Probably not. Holy crap, what? Michael Scott, baby. Chi Ya says, this show just instantly got my attention. Let's go. Time to do Ultron justice. Well, Ultron coming back. Yeah, he finally have a fit when he find out how far AI and internet grew since Tony. I don't fully get that one. Human form means to save money by Bat Site 1. That's true. Yes, they are going to save money. 100%. But again, it's not a bad thing. Marcus B says a human form of Ultron just shows that they're refusing to put in the work needed for the show. I want to save money. Marcus B, I think you're wrong. I think they're not mutually exclusive. I think that this can create, yes, it's forcing you to do, make a different creative choice. But nevertheless, I still think it's a good choice. Sometimes when there's restraints with money, you'll hear a lot of indie directors talk about this, that it causes you to make other decisions that you normally wouldn't have, but then it actually turns out to be the better decision. We'll just do a few more here. He was made to be beautiful. Oh, that's funny. After seeing a lot of these clips, I'm remembering how good Age of... I haven't seen it in a while, but that was a great movie. The GOAT, Matthew W. says, the GOAT, I can't wait to just hear his voice again. I get goosebumps just thinking about it. That's true, Matthew W. James Spader has that ability. His voice, especially as Ultron, chef's kiss. I mean, really, I can't imagine a better, AI, psychopath voice. I don't know, James Spader, he just has it. It's like deep in. Yeah, I don't know. That's got like a level of psychopath to it. No offense, James Spader. I love you. I don't think you're actually a crazy guy. I'm just saying that you played that part perfect. Radicard said it'd be really funny if Ultron saw the blacklist and said, yeah, I want to be that guy. That would actually be really funny. Like they do this meta thing where he's watching it in the show and then like he's like, that's my guy. I'm taking that form. Kind of like off of Transformers when Bumblebee transformed into a Mustang or a Camaro. It'd be similar to that. Cool. Awesome. So it seems like a lot of people are thinking two things, that they're excited that he's coming back, but they also think that they're just doing it to save money. I agree with both those. I'm excited that it's coming back. I also think that they're doing it to save money, but I also don't think that's a bad thing. So, yeah. So anyway, what do you guys think about this? I mean, are you excited for Vision Quest? Are you excited that Ultron is coming back and most likely going to be the main villain? And are you excited that James Spader is coming back to voice him? So let me know your thoughts in the comments. We're going to move on to the next topic. Well, it was recently announced that the Passion of the Christ is coming out with a sequel called The Resurrection of the Christ. And, you know, for years, I mean, basically since the Passion of the Christ had come out, we had heard murmurs that they were trying to do a Resurrection of the Christ style movie. It was a few weeks ago, it was announced that they had started filming in Italy, and I was amped about it. Well, this week it turns out that Jim Caviezel, who did the iconic portrayal of Jesus in the Passion of the Christ, is no longer playing Jesus, and he is being replaced. This comes to us from Variety. I'll share my screen here. It says Mel Gibson's Resurrection of the Christ finds new Jesus and Mary Magdalene, and Jaco Autinen and Mariella Garriga reveals main cast. Sorry, I know I'm butchering your name, guys. It says Mel Gibson's Resurrection of the Christ, his long-delayed follow-up to 2004's The Passion of the Christ, has cast Finnish actor Jaco Autinen, The Last Kingdom, I haven't seen that, in the role of Jesus, replacing original star Jim Caviezel. Shooting started last week at Rome's Cinecittà Studios on the film, with its main ensemble having been entirely recast. More than 20 years ago, Gibson shot the original Passion of the Christ, which was amazing, at Cinecittà, which became one of the largest grossing independent films of all time with a worldwide box office of $610 million. I wonder what they spent on that. I know it was profitable. I remember hearing that, but I wonder what their total cost was. As previously announced, The Resurrection of the Christ will be split into two films, with each part set to release in 2027. Well, oh, interesting. So they're both releasing in 2027. So then it goes on to say, because of the time frame in which the resurrection of the Christ takes place, 3 days after Christ's crucifixion on Good Friday, it made sense to recast the whole film. A source close to the production told Variety. They would have had to do all the CGI stuff, all the digital stuff, de-aging, and all that. That would have been very costly, a source noted. In April, the 57-year-old Caviezel had suggested on the Arroyo Grande podcast that he was ready to reprise his career-defining role of Jesus in the follow-up. Otinen, I just know I'm butchering it, who is 36, is presently best known for his role as a Dane warrior Woland in the 5th season of Netflix's historical epic, The Last Kingdom. Gibson has described these two sequels as an acid trip, adding that he never read anything like the scripts, which the filmmaker wrote alongside Braveheart screenwriter. That's a great movie, and we're getting that screenwriter. That's good news. Randall Wallace. As the title suggests, the plot is expected to focus on Jesus Christ's resurrection. Other story details are being kept under wraps. Okay, here we go for the date release. The Resurrection of the Christ Part 1 is slated for Good Friday on March 26, 2027, while Part 2 is set 40 days later on Ascension Day. So they are on May 6th. Wow. They're doing it on the same year. That's pretty cool. That's like, that's dope. That's going to be like basically the Christian Infinity War and Endgame. Like we're making a whole freaking experience out of this. Let's do it. So, yeah, that's basically that article. So I guess here are my thoughts. And I want to preface this with, I'm super excited for the new actors and actresses that are cast. You know, what I'm about to say has nothing to do with them. I've never seen them apart from the girl in Mission Impossible, so I don't know how good of actors or actresses they are. They look like they have a good look for it. But what I will say is I think it is very unfortunate that Jim Caviezel is not coming back. I think his portrayal of Jesus was absolutely incredible. I think it was the best portrayal of Jesus I've seen. Jonathan Rumi on The Chosen is great as well, just a different tone. But Jim Caviezel was so incredibly good. And truthfully, I know that they're saying that, he's older now. I think he's like 50 or something. But I feel like they could de-age him enough with makeup. And the reason I think that is because in the first one, he had a beard, which is covering, a lot of his face, and it's covering all of this basically. And then he had the long hair, which is, covering a lot of this. So I think with what I've seen in other films with makeup, I at first I thought, okay, couldn't they just do AGI or AI de-aging with this? And then the more I thought about it, I was like, they can't do that because like Indiana Jones 5 was not good and that budget was huge. And then like The Irishman, I remember, I thought that de-aging was very distracting. And so I don't think we're there yet with AI to be able to realistically de-age someone without it taking away from the experience, because I think it takes you out of it. But with makeup, like I think that they could totally, because Jim Caviezel, it's not like he's gotten really old looking. He hasn't gotten like really fat or anything like that. He just looks a little bit older. But I mean, if you think about Oppenheimer, I mean, what they did, let's find Cillian Murphy real fast, because they made him look quite young, in my opinion, in Oppenheimer, for his young scenes here. I'll do young Oppenheimer. Yeah, so here, let's take a look at this. Okay. So they had Cillian Murphy, who is upper 40s or something like that, playing like an 18, 19, 20-year-old. And I don't think it took me out of the experience, or, ruined the suspension of disbelief at all. Like, I think he looks, maybe not quite like a young 18-year-old, but he looks, 27, the neck is a little, saggy maybe, but like they did it for him, and he doesn't have like a beard or anything. Like with Jesus, it's like he has the beard, the long hair, it's covering up all of this. So really, you just like, if you get here looking young, like I think they could totally do it. And I get that this is supposed to take a few days after. So Jesus is supposed to be 33. So Jim Caviezel is supposed to be 33 in it. But even if you don't get him looking as young as 33, you could still get him looking, 40-ish. And again, I don't think that's going to take him out. So I guess the reason that they would, change it and change actors is because they don't want, him to be looking old and then for it to be confusing to the audience to take him out. But I think what's going to take the audience out more is people going into this, remembering Jim Caviezel and then comparing this actor to Jim Caviezel and just having a different look. Because, for me, I'm going to be I'm going to be comparing the whole time. I'm going to be like, okay, this guy's doing better or not as good as Jim Caviezel. Oh, and then I'm going to be thinking, oh, he doesn't really look like him, or, I don't know. I'm just going to be like, it's just going to take me out of it, because I'm going to be, thinking of the original portrayal. It'd be one thing if the original portrayal wasn't good and they just need to recast because it wasn't good. But I think that they could easily make Jim Caviezel look young. Let's look up Jim Caviezel 2025. Okay, so like that's him. He probably colored his beard there, maybe his hair, but like, oh, you could totally do that. Cover up some of this, get the beard longer. Again, he's looking a little older there, but color the beard or do the fake beard or whatever. I think he could totally do it. So this is, to be honest, a little surprising to me. I did not see it, and it's really unfortunate because I loved his portrayal. So quite frankly, this makes me wonder if, there's not something else going on behind the scenes here. Because I do think it's very possible. It wouldn't cost that much extra money because you wouldn't have to CGI it. You do makeup, you frame it right with the camera, and you use the cinematography to your advantage. Maybe you don't do really close-ups because then people see it. Or if you do really close-ups, then you go really, heavy on the makeup that day. I mean, there's ways that they could realistically do this. So makes me wonder if maybe Jim Caviezel didn't actually want to do this again. And, he, I don't know, they use this as an excuse to get out of it, or if Mel Gibson didn't want him to do it again, for if there's, I don't know, maybe some tension behind the scenes. But they both sounded like that he was coming back, and both sounded like they were excited to do it with each other. And I don't know. Another thought is, if you're casting young, maybe there's a plan to do more movies and spin-offs of this in the future, and which would have to be prequels. They would have to go into the life of Christ between, I guess, ages 30 to 33 when he's with his disciples and, going around and performing all of his miracles. So maybe their plan is that they want to do that and go back. And so they're kind of wanting to start this whole, cinematic universe. Maybe they're wanting to do that. So I don't know why they're doing this, but truly what I want from now on, I know I didn't get Jim Caviezel back, but I was just thinking the other day, how sick would it be if we had Mel Gibson, who did, Braveheart, who did Passion of the Christ. I don't think he filmed Patriot, but I think he's producer on it. It had a lot of say. I mean, this guy's a phenomenal director. He did Hacksaw Ridge? He did Apocalypto. I think it's been a while since I've seen it, but I remember loving it. So this guy's a phenomenal director. So how cool would it be if he just started doing like these biblical epics and did, David and he did Noah and like all of there's so many cool stories to be told in the Bible. And so how cool would it be if Mel Gibson was just like, for the next, 15 years, I'm just going to do 4 to 5 of these movies and just do like his cool Braveheart style epics. So I don't know, I just had a thought the other day. So yeah, this super bummed that Jim Caviezel isn't coming back, but I'm really hoping that this new cast does a great job. And if they do, I'm hoping that like they're accepted by moviegoers and that they're not just getting trolled, because this is a hard task, especially for the guy playing Jesus. Not only are you playing Jesus, which is, that's a hard thing to do, but you're also going to be compared the whole time to Jim Caviezel, who did an outstanding job. I don't know if he didn't get, I don't think, a lot of awards for it, but I think he was in talks for them and maybe nominated for them. So anyway, this guy's got some big shoes to fill, but I'm hoping that he does it, and Godspeed on that one. So what do you guys think? Do you think that it was a good idea to recast a younger Jesus, or do you think they should have kept it as Jim Caviezel? Just let me know what you guys think in the comments /chat, and we're gonna be moving on to our next topic. I didn't even know that this movie was being made, but Young Washington. It's about the story of George Washington when he was young, and it's a very fascinating story. But they just released a trailer for it, and I've heard phenomenal things about this, and it was released by Angels, or produced by Angel Studios. And so let's watch it.
What happened, Washington? All those bullet holes in your jacket.
Oh, that's Mandarin from MCU, Ben Kingsley.
How are you alive?
It's a big name.
I don't know.
You have no military service.
I'm digging it. It looks good. It doesn't look like it's low production.
You are a boy.
That cinematography is really good.
British, yet they send you to speak for them. So that when you fail, they'll have someone to blame.
I don't know who that's supposed to be, but I can tell I'm gonna like him as a bad dude.
In the new world.
Oh, Gollum. I
own
can't remember his
this
name.
land?
Lord of the Rings.
If not the one who has the will to tame it. You do not want to start a war.
What do? We fight!
Come on. Come on. Oh, Andy Serkis. That was his name. Is that a body or a tree he just cut?
There is no retreat!
What are you called?
I'm digging this vibe.
My name is George Washington.
Yes, sir. Woo. Help. That, my friends, that looks good. I'm actually really excited about that. I think that looks amazing, honestly. I'm trying to gather my thoughts on it. I think when I heard that Angel Studios was producing, I thought that it might be like a lower budget feel. That doesn't feel low budget to me. That just, I don't know. That makes me proud to be an American right there. I'm excited. You know, I've wondered for a while, you know, they've done like 2 Lincoln movies. They've done like a Lincoln Vampire Hunter. I always wondered why they hadn't done like a high budget George Washington movie. And it looks like they're going to be, I mean, and it's called Young Washington. I think it's going to be like the younger part of his life. I'm curious if we get any, like, if it's going to be some flashback, or maybe it's like starts off with him as the president or reflecting on his time. So I don't know if it's going to be only when he was young, but his life is so fascinating. I think that's going to be sick. And that trailer looks really good. You know, my thoughts on this are Angel Studios. I think that they've done a really good job at coming in and really forming their own little category in Hollywood. They did Sound of Freedom. You know, they do a lot of like faith-based movies and productions, and they did Sound of Freedom. I think they spent $24-ish million on that production or something like that. It was around that. And it made $240 something million. Like they've done a really good job at coming in and being like that not high budget, but like high quality faith-based movie making. Cause the faith-based movie segment traditionally gets flack for being cheesy, low budget, but dude, they're doing stuff like this. I'm in. I'll be there. I'll be there. So let's go over to Twitter and see what the people are saying about this. Me on my way to the theater. It's Mel Gibson, Patriot. Oh, dude, how cool would that be? You and the boys just rolling up on horses with an American flag, each to the theater, parking our horses out front. That'd be sick. I'd do it. Me and boys, we're gonna do it. I'm calling up the boys. We're gonna get on our little horses and we're heading to the local theater. The conservative alternative. We need more dramas about the American Revolution. It's such a rich history. You guys are legends. We're diving into Washington's biography. Benjamin Franklin's life would also be highly adaptable to the big screen. True. Benjamin Franklin, also very interesting. And yeah, I agree. I mean, with the conservative alternative, I think that you're hitting the nail on the head. As you can see with like Oppenheimer, people like historical dramas when done right. And like when it doesn't feel cheap or low budget. Patriots. Oh, that's funny. It's not Gangs. Is that Gangs of New York? Daniel Day-Lewis. Info Guns, me opening day. Oh, that's it. All right. Here's what we're going to do. We're rolling up. Challengers are cool, but we're still riding the horses. But what we're going to do, we're going to get the wigs, and we're going to ride up with our American flags to the theater. And that's how we're going. Oh, that's amazing. I actually have a poster of this, or I had a poster growing up as a kid in my bedroom. That's funny. The trailer is quite Kino, says the Libertarian of Calais. No, I don't even know what that means. I don't know what Kino means either, to be honest with you. Please let it be good. Let's hope it is. No woke actors, no woke stories, no woke writing, no woke directors. Angel Studios. Love it. I'm in agreement. I don't like when there's political stances just shoved down your throats. with productions. I think sometimes it's overkill. I think sometimes people make big deals out of stuff that's really not that big deal, and they try to say like some things are woke when they're actually not. But I agree. Whenever it's clearly that they're trying to push an agenda on you, I don't like that. So, incredible. Take all my money. Awesome. Been waiting for someone to do some solid Founding Fathers media. It's long overdue. Brandon Towner. Dude, I completely agree with that. I mean, I really have been wondering for a while why they haven't done George Washington, because his story, the young part of his life too. You know, people know the older part of his life. The young part of his life is actually really fascinating. So, it's just a good dude. I'd have zero hope for this, but Angel Studios behind it, so I'm actually excited. Let's freaking go. This should muster some excitement. Great cast. I agree, Pierce. Snarknado says, shut up and take my money. Me too. Take me and my boys' money right off our horsies. Got all those A-list actors. You know, I'm kind of surprised by that too. Also, shout out Ron Swanson. I'm surprised that they got all those A-list actors. I mean, you know, because Angel Studios isn't going to be spending an insane amount of money on this. So I think that's kind of what I was talking about earlier in the segment with One Battle After Another. You don't have to get just like the absolute pinnacle actors where you're, you know, spending a whole movie budget just to pay them. But get some of these, you know, like more like, I'd say a lot of these guys are like B-ish and, you know, C tier. Like, get those guys, and I bet this movie's still gonna perform well. That's my hunch. So anyway, that's what the people got to say about it. So anyway, what are your guys' thoughts on this? I mean, are you excited to see this? Do you think that a movie like this will resonate well here specifically domestically? Probably won't do really that good internationally because it's like a very pro-America movie. But do you think it will resonate well here domestically? Let me know your thoughts below, and we are going to move on to our next topic. Tron Ares. That came out, this last weekend, and I was very excited for it. A lot of people were excited for it. I love the other Tron movies. It's been a long time since I've seen the one in the 80s, but I loved Tron Legacy. I thought it was great. So I was really excited this one has come out. I haven't been able to see it yet. I've been sick and just really busy with work. But anyway, it's not doing great now in the box office. It's got its results back from its first weekend, and it's not looking too good, unfortunately. I'll share my screen here. All right, so this comes to us on Yahoo Entertainment from TV Squad. It says Disney's Tron Ares underwhelms. New sequel might not be coming soon. So fans got really excited when it was announced that Disney would be coming forward with another Tron movie following the 2010 film Tron Legacy. Loved it. Of course, they wanted to see a big name attached to the product, and the production giant gave them what they wanted by casting Jared Leto in the titular role. I don't know how to say that. I don't know if it's titular or titular. Everything seemed to be working smoothly, and analysts believed that this might be a hit at the box office. However, what happened was the exact opposite, and the film lost 90% of the battle in the first 3 days of its release. I don't know what that means. With an underwhelming start at the box office and mixed reviews, it is highly possible that a new Tron movie might not be arriving anytime soon. In a report shared by The Hollywood Reporter, the outlet talked to a couple of industry insiders about the film performance at the box office, citing industry people. The report indicated that producers might be moving away from casting Leto as a leading star in their upcoming projects. His recent projects, including Morbius and Tron Ares, opened up to an underwhelming response and received mixed and negative reviews from critics as well as audiences. However, another source made it clear that Leto is not the only reason for the film's debacle at the box office. You could have had Ryan Gosling. It wasn't going to work. No one asked for this reboot. If you say Tron Ares is good, we just need a different actor. You're deluding yourself, a source told the outlet. Tron Ares grossed over $60.2 million globally in its opening weekend, which was well below the initial projections. On the other hand, they earned a B+ cinema score, making it clear that only die-hard fans of Tron and Leto went on to see the film on the big screen. I mean, B+ cinema score is pretty good, so I don't really agree with that. As a result, industry insiders believe that the final nail in the coffin for the series is this, and fans shouldn't expect a Tron movie in the near future. In an era where sci-fi and fantasy dominate in the minds of people, it is a travesty that a story like Tron didn't get the treatment it deserved. Let's see. It goes on to talk about it a little bit more. So let's see. Tron Legacy, the movie before this, earned 172 million at the box office, but it hasn't been as impactful as its predecessor. It would be interesting to see how Disney plans to take this forward. So, here are my thoughts on the film. I keep hearing great things about, I guess not great things. What I hear that is good about the film, I hear that Jared Leto actually delivers a really good performance. I hear the score is also very good. People have been raving about the score. And then in addition, I hear that the visuals are absolutely stunning. I hear that they're really next level and one of the best that people have seen in a long time. So that's great. Again, I haven't seen it, but I'm hopefully going soon so I can talk more about that. What I've also heard, though, is that the story is average and there's nothing compelling about it. And I guess this is a theme that I've been seeing in movies lately. As people are doing reboots a lot, and as studios are doing reboots and greenlighting those, and as these new big blockbuster movies are getting made, I feel like they're focusing all on the spectacle and not on the screenplay. What I mean by that is I feel that they focus on making sure that they're getting a lot of explosions and that it looks good, which isn't totally true because a lot of movies I feel like their CGI has been lacking recently. But either way, and they focus on big action sequences, and they spend a lot of time focusing on those action sequences. But then they have the screenplay, and they're just kind of like, oh yeah, it's like 80% of the way there. Like we can start production. And I've seen this over and over, specifically in like reboots. And I think that's the biggest mistake that's happening, is because people really aren't getting fresh ideas. And when they do these reboots, again, I don't fully know, but I've heard that they're focusing a lot on nostalgia, and which is fine. It's, it's a wire balance act, because you want to have nostalgia in it for the original fans. But when you focus and rely too heavily on nostalgia, and then at the sacrifice of the screenplay and of an original story, then you're really ostracizing, a large group of people that maybe aren't as familiar with Tron, and, younger kids who haven't seen it. And so anyway, I feel like those aren't mutually exclusive. I feel like you can have, an awesome spectacle of a movie with awesome sequences and awesome, battles and things. But I feel like you can also have a screenplay that is fully fleshed out and developed. Again, I feel like these studios get a screenplay 80% of the way there, and then they're just like, okay, it's good enough. Let's just get it into production. And I get it. They have timelines and, things and due dates that they have to meet. But then this is what's happening, is it doesn't perform well in the box office. And then now we're probably not going to get another Tron movie made. Whereas if you would have gotten the script from, 80% of the way good to, 97% of the way there, no script's ever going to be 100%. So 97% of the way there, then you get, maybe from a B+ cinema score to an A, A-, A, hopefully A+ cinema score. And in the A range is where you really get that word of mouth. Cinema score is what determines the legs of a movie more than anything else. And you really want to get in that A range. And so the way to get a movie to have long legs primarily is word of mouth. And you have to have a good movie to get the word of mouth. So I feel like that's what's happening with these movies. I think a very good example of how you can have spectacle and a good story and a good screenplay is Dune 2. Again, yes, I glazed Dune 2. I think it's one of the greatest movies made ever. Probably the best movie in the last 10 years. But Dune 2, I mean, they had some of the best action sequences. They had phenomenal CGI. They had, huge battles. They filmed on location, halfway across the frickin' world in a desert. But yet the screenplay and the story of Dune 2 was was better than any of the battles were, by a lot. Like the story was what really captivated people and its uniqueness. So I think Dune 2 is a great example of how you can do both. And Dune 2 had great legs because it had great word of mouth because people liked it a lot. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. Again, I think the production, cost is just too high for Tron specifically. I think if it, had, I guess, greater IP presence, if people, if it was Star Wars or if it was, Marvel movie or, even like Barbie, like something that has really strong IP, I think that you could have, done a budget. What was his budget? $180 million production budget. I mean, that's still really high. I want to do that for Barbie, but like Star Wars, you could do that and you could be pretty confident you're going to make your money back. Tron, you can't do that. Like this younger generation, they're not as familiar with Tron. The kids aren't as familiar with Tron. So again, it's just too high. And, there's rumors of reports of Jared Leto's salary. So it just goes back to that whole thing of, is paying Jared Leto that worth it? And is he going to bring in that many extra people to watch it? I don't think so. I just don't think so. I don't think that he has the pull, and I don't really know if any movie star does at this point. And, I think he got a really big upfront salary, and I think he's getting, I don't know if it's first dollar, but he's getting a lot on the back end points. I think the future of what Tron is, I don't think it's going to be on the big screen. Like the article said, I think for specifically live action movies, I think that this was the nail in the coffin. I don't think they're going to do another one, probably for another at least 15 years. Maybe they'll try their hand at it again. Now, what I could see happening is them leaning in and utilizing this for animation. I think that could be actually a really good move. I think that just the nature of what Tron is, it lends itself well to animation because of just a visual stylistically. Again, it's going to be hard to get a Tron budget low because, again, the nature of what it is, you're in a computer. So it's going to be impossible not to have big sets and CGI and stuff. So I think the future of Tron is in animation, and I think that they should focus on that because I think there's really good stories, and I think it's a very interesting universe, and they've done a really good job of building up the world over these 3 movies. And I think that Tron actually did have an animated thing. I haven't seen it, but I think a pretty high quality animated either show, it could even be a feature. I don't know. Maybe you could do that, but it just doesn't hold the weight and it doesn't have the demand to bring enough people to make back their money, and you can't have $180 million production value on it. So that's my thoughts. Let's, again, as we always do, let's hear what the people got to say about it. Let's go. I'm going to share my screen here. We're over on the good old X, good old Twitter to see here what people got to say. Starting to think Disney purposely cast Jared Leto in the movie to kill the Tron franchise for good, but I can't prove it yet. I've seen this. I don't even know who or what this is, but I've seen it. Jew says, GU Metal says, what? I thought everyone liked that scene where Jared Leto says it's Troning time and then harassed a bunch of women. Oh, I think that's probably from the allegations that he has. Probably. Jared Leto, when it comes to bombing on the box office, I got one more in me. I mean, has he bombed a lot? He didn't bombed with Morbius. That was a big bomb. And I guess this, 2, maybe in a row. I don't know if he had a movie in between that. But that was Vince Carter. That's funny. Tron Ares, 982, what is that, billion or trillion dollars? $982 trillion, 827. I don't even know how to say that. Gosh. What is your honest review? Tron Ares is so bad it makes you wish AI would hurry up and destroy Hollywood. Dang, Neo. That's intense. Was that your review or some article you found? You got to take that one to therapy, dude. Dark Knight says Jared Leto and the curse of bad movies. Let's make a terrible freaking movie. Jared Leto. Oh my gosh. I haven't seen Morbius either. I want to, but I don't really. I could spend my time doing better things and watching better movies. Tron franchise. I'll see you again in 25 years. That's probably true. They'll probably try their hand at it again. Luis Fernando. Just give it, I think 15 years. I think 15 years they're going to come back and try their hand at it. How I feel when Jared Leto is in any movie. That's American Psycho. And he actually unalives Jared Leto at this point. Few films can live up to the Morbius sweep. I knew Jared Leto was a big reason why the Tron Ares got made, but gosh darn, he is literally box office kryptonite. This is a lot of Jared Leto hate. You know, I don't want to hate on the guy too much, but I figured there's going to be some positive stuff, but this is basically just all a thread of how Jared Leto is giving terrible results in the box office. I mean, this is a cool scene. Like, this looks sick. Huh. All right. Well, let's see what this one. I've never met anyone in my entire life ever say, OMG, hey, let's go see a Jared Leto movie. Like, bro, how we keep getting these movies, trash after trash after trash. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever said, let's go see a Jared Leto movie. Personally. So, okay, I don't think there's... Yeah, man, I mean, these are all Jared Leto. The people are trashing on this guy. I mean, I don't have anything wrong with his performance. I don't know about his personal life. You know, they have those rumors and everything, but I think he's a good actor. I think he was an Academy Award nominee, I think. Maybe he won supporting for Dallas Buyers Club. All right. Well, I think the sentiment is I was hoping to see what people actually said about the movie. It's clear that they're not big Jared Leto fans from this. So, anyway, Hoosiers, I guess my question to you guys is, what did you think about Tron? And why do you think that it's not performing well at the box office? And also, do you guys think that Disney is going to make more Tron films, or is this the final nail in the coffin? Just let me know what you guys think below. All right, guys. I'm going to move on to the next topic here. So, as most of you guys know, Smashing Machine came out a few weeks ago. For the most part, people really seem to be enjoying it. But the box office performance has just not been good. Like, it's been really bad. Last I checked, worldwide, like globally, I think it was at $16 million. But if you're not going to get a good box office performance, I guess the second best thing that can happen is to get high praise from Sir Christopher Nolan, which is what just happened here in the last few days. So let me share my screen and we'll share the article. So this comes to us from Deadline. It says, Christopher Nolan lavishes praise on Dwayne Johnson and the Smashing Machine. I don't think you'll see a better performance this year. Dave, also, let's just take a second. I mean, look at this guy. How old is he? He's just ripped. Like, he's just jacked, dude. Smashing Machine may not have been a box office knockout, but Dwayne Johnson's turn as UFC fighter Mark Kerr has a big admirer in Christopher Nolan. The Oppenheimer director lavished praise on Johnson during an interview with Smashing Machine Helmer director Benny Safdie on the Director's Cut, the Directors Guild of America's podcast. Nolan said the performance was heartbreaking, added, I think it's an incredible performance, and I don't think we're going to see, I don't think you'll see a better performance this year or most other years. That's pretty high praise. Nolan and Johnson have not worked together, but they have spoken with admiration about each other's work in the past. Nolan is a big fan of the Fast and Furious franchise, while Johnson has talked about the amazing experience of watching Oppenheimer and IMAX. This is actually true. This is funny because I remember reading an interview or hearing an interview where Nolan talked about the fact that Fast and Furious franchise is amazing and he thinks it's underappreciated and it's one of his favorite movies / franchises, which I think is hilarious because with all the memes and just kind of, I don't know what people typically say about Fast and Furious. It's funny that somebody that is so rigorous in their craft like Christopher Nolan and somebody that just makes so many hits, that Fast and Furious is one of his favorite movies. But I love Fast and Furious too, so not going to knock on it. During Nolan's discussion with Safdie, the Smashing Machine director revealed that he was developing the project while he was starring in Oppenheimer. Safdie met Emily Blunt, Love Emily Blunt. I think she's one of the greatest working actresses. He met her on the Oppenheimer shoot. Christopher Nolan said, I heard a rumor that when you were supposed to be learning your lines on my set, he's talking to Benny Safdie because Benny Safdie starred in Oppenheimer as, who was it, Teller? He said, you were actually canvassing people to be in your movie. I wasn't aware of that at the time, but it seems to have worked out great for you. Nolan joked. Safdie laughed and said he tapped Blunt up during an Oppenheimer Q&A. During the podcast, Nolan added, congratulations on the movie. It's a really remarkable and radical piece of work that will be understood more and more over time. I'm very proud to know you. So that's pretty impressive. Again, the best thing that can happen is that you get amazing results in the box office and that it makes a lot of money. But if you don't get that, high praise from Sir Christopher Nolan, that's a really good number 2 option to happen to you. So I think that this is interesting because you just find that there's many movies that age really well with time. So, for instance, Fight Club, when it came out, I don't know if critics liked it, I can't remember, but it didn't really do good at the box office. Blade Runner, again, didn't do great. Critics didn't love it off the get-go. Big Lebowski, It's a Wonderful Life. I mean, all of these movies, which are classics now, when they came out, they weren't that popular and they didn't really do that good amongst critics and box office success. But when given time, whether that's a couple years down the line or even like 20 years down the line, it starts to become like a cult classic and it gets a cult following behind it. So what Nolan is saying is that it can be better understood in time. I think he's saying that people will come to appreciate it more and it'll resonate more with people and it can still find success, but it might not be, for a few years. Now, all of these movies that I mentioned, Blade Runner, Fight Club, Big Lebowski, Wonderful Life, well, not necessarily Wonderful Life, but those movies were very unique and took big swings. And they were different from a lot of other movies in the marketplace at that time. I don't think The Smashing Machine, again, I haven't been able to see it yet. I've been sick, but I don't think that it's going to have a cult following. I do think that people will grow to appreciate it more, would be my guess, but I don't think it's going to be the likes of, some of these other these movies that aged really well. I don't think it's going to be up there with that. Now, another thing with Christopher Nolan is he had recently been, not nominated. He became the head of the DGA, the Directors, what was that stand for? Directors Guild of America, I think it stands for, or something like that. And Christopher Nolan just a couple years ago won best director. I think they got best picture too with Oppenheimer when it kind of swept it. I guess it didn't sweep it. Barbie won a lot too. But what Nolan says in this industry carries a lot of weight. I mean, as you saw with Oppenheimer, Nolan he's a brand in and of himself. He's IP now. Like whenever you say, I'm going to the movies, you're not really, maybe you'll say, I'm going to watch. I'm curious if whenever Odyssey comes out, if people are going to say more, I'm going to go see Odyssey or I'm going to go see the new Nolan movie. There's very few directors where that will even be a question. I mean, most people, you're just going to say what you're going to see, but Nolan can carry that weight to where people, it's an event and people refer to the event as, like a Nolan movie. So I think that this is interesting because he has such high respect. So going into award season, which a lot of people are talking about, that the Smashing Machine could make a lot more money on the back end once it gets into award season. And I think they're going to be pushing, it was A24. I think they're going to be doing a big campaign for Smashing Machine, probably for The Rock for Best Actor, probably for Benny Safdie as Best Director. They might go for Best Picture. Usually when a film like flops at box office, they don't go for Best Picture, but they might. We'll see how that works. But Nolan's comments here, I think, could really help light a fire amongst the voters and like the fellow peers and start voting for it because they're like, there's really no one else in Hollywood I think that carries more weight. Like their opinions carry more weight than Christopher Nolan. So I think this is actually really good news for Smashing Machine. I'm glad that he came out and said it. And it also makes sense because Nolan and Benny Safdie are just like good friends. They're bros. So anyway, that is my thoughts. Let's, as always, go to Twitter and see what the people got to say. Oh, I'm already on the screen share. Perfect. All right. Suarez says, The Rock realizing he finally achieved... Here, let's do it. Finally realized he achieved true cinema.
Yeah! Hey, come on, baby! Come on! Yes! Come on!
That's funny. Like I said, if you're not going to get good box office results, a good second place scenario to happen is that Christopher Nolan praises you. It's pretty dope. Don't really get that one. Before everyone trashes this film, box office doesn't take away from a film being good. Moonlight, another A24 film, opened with $402,000. It won 3 Oscars. $402,000, that is very low. That must have been a limited release. It's his best performance from The Rock. The film looked great. Yeah, I've been hearing that from a lot of people, that The Rock was unrecognizable in this movie. Yes, because he had prosthetics, but also he just kind of took up the characterization of Mark Kerr and became a different person. So, really fascinating. Mogu Magu. I don't know if I said that right. Nolan basically knighting Dwayne Johnson for the Oscar. Dude, I'm telling you, he basically did knight him. I think that minimum he's going to get a nomination now. But I do think that Nolan saying this is going to carry a lot of weight and really help Dwayne out in his Oscar campaign. Nolan out here saying it's best performance of the year. Meanwhile, the box office said we respectfully disagree. Yeah. Box office more so said we don't like the movie, if anything. But it got what was the cinema score? I think it got a B, maybe just a B cinema score, which isn't, it's not terrible. There's some sort of end game for Nolan here, but I can't prove it. I want that guy on the meme earlier. Wouldst thou like to live deliciously? Dude, these names. AIM says Christopher Nolan's cosign is bigger than box office ratings. I will stick with Chris Nolan. Amen. A freaking men. Amen. That's funny. I said amen and this guy's name's Amen. Didn't even mean to. It's dope. This is like how James Gunn praised The Flash. It has to be fake. We'll get to that a little bit later, but that's funny you bring that up. I don't think that Chris Nolan is just glazing it, though, for no reason. Mo Morales, a guy who spent his life pretending to be a fighter, plays a fighter in a movie, and we're supposed to be in awe of that performance. Go play something that has no muscles, and then let's talk about your acting. LOL. Well, you might get what you're asking for, because The Rock has lost a lot of weight recently. So yeah, you might be doing a role just like what you're talking about. But also, from what I've heard, he seemed like a different guy. It wasn't like the typical Rock. I think he really took up the characterization of Mark Kerr. Well, at least from what I saw in the trailers and interviews. MTS says it's not hyperbolic to say this. I rarely go to the movies anymore, and I am not familiar with M&A, but I was in awe of Dwayne Johnson throughout the film. Phenomenal performance. Yep. All right. Well, I got the sentiment of what people are saying, at least from this thread. Yeah, it seems like, people like The Rock, and kind of in agreement with what I was saying, which this could be really good for The Rock and Benny Safdie, Christopher Nolan praising it. So anyway, that's my thoughts on it. What do you guys think? Do you think that the Smashing Machine will age, with time and be more, not accepted, but better understood in time, like Nolan thought, or not? Do you think it's just going to kind of fizzle out and people are going to kind of forget about it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments /chat, and we're going to move on to our next topic. We recently got the finale of Peacemaker, and I believe it's a series finale. And, a lot of people had a lot of speculation. James Gunn had been teasing that there's going to be massive cameos in the final episode, and there's going to be twists, and it's like one of his favorite things that he's ever directed. And then the episode came out, and a lot of people, including myself, were very upset with it because it just, was kind of a letdown. So we're going to talk about it and go off of this article here. This comes to us, again, from Geek Tyrant. It says James Gunn responds to Peacemaker finale backlash, saying it's completely fair. Fans didn't like it. James Gunn has once again jumped into the conversation to defend the divisive Peacemaker Season 2 finale. After a fan on Threads asked if he had seen all the backlash to the finale and the show itself, Gunn gave a characteristically honest response, writing, "Definitely. Not everyone can love everything. I love the episode, but I understand not everybody does," which is completely fair. As you know, the Peacemaker Season 2 finale hasn't landed perfectly for everyone. In fact, a lot of fans seem to hate it, and it's sitting at a series low 6.7 out of 10 rating on IMDb. That's not good, by the way. Fans have called out the episode for its lack of major twists and for speeding through key character arcs that many hoped would be explored more deeply, but Gunn doesn't agree that it was lacking in surprises. Responding to the same wave of online complaints, he wrote, I don't get that people don't think there aren't big reveals here, including Checkmate and Salvation. As Gunn has teased for months, Season 2 of Peacemaker was designed as a prequel to the upcoming 2027 DCU film Man of Tomorrow. The finale's introduction of Salvation, an alternate dimension that Rick Flag Sr. plans to use as a refuge for Earth's metahumans, sets up a major stories thread that will pay off later in the new DC universe. In a recent Q&A, Gunn explained that you don't need to have watched Peacemaker to follow what's coming in Man of Tomorrow. Sorry, getting parched here. I'm not expecting people to go into Man of Tomorrow and know what Salvation is. You'll find out anything you need to know about metahumans disappearing through that movie. So while some fans may have found the Peacemaker finale underwhelming, Gunn clearly has a long game in mind for where the story is headed, and he liked what he did with it. Then it goes on to talk about Peace Girl. So, yeah, here's what I'll say about that. First off, I like that James Gunn is acknowledging and not just trying to play victim here on fans, because it's pretty overwhelmingly that fans didn't like the season 2 finale, and I think maybe the series finale. I don't know. I don't think they have a plan for the third season. So that's my preface, is that I'm glad that he's acknowledging it. My other preface is I like James Gunn. I think Guardians of the Galaxy, I think that trilogy is one of the greatest trilogies ever made. I think that he's made a lot of good stuff. But I'm with the majority on this. I did not like the finale either, really at all. James Gunn, like I said in this article, for months, he'd been promising massive payoffs, and he'd been talking about massive cameos. And I don't think we got really one cameo apart from 2 bands in the series finale. I don't think we got one cameo. And on part of that, with the bands, they're the thing that took away from the whole show. Like, in a finale, you want to expect, especially a superhero finale in a show, you're expecting a big fight, twists and turns, and where you don't know what's happening, and maybe you think the hero's going to die or something. But we didn't get anything of what I felt was climactic at all. We had the 2 90s bands, or whoever they were, come on, and then half the episode felt like it was like a music video or like a montage. And I guess that's who he's talking about with the spoilers, but like realistically, nobody really knows who these bands are, and so that shouldn't count as spoilers. And so you over hype this thing and you get everybody just like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see what's happening. But then you just introduce these 2 random like 90s bands that people hardly even know, and that's like your cameo. That makes hardly any sense. So I was really bummed by that. And again, I like James Gunn. I think he's a great dude. I think he's a great director. But he does tend to do this, like we mentioned earlier with The Flash. He was saying that was one of the greatest movies of all time. And just with different actors' performances, I hear him say that, like, it's his favorite actor that he's worked with. He said that multiple times with multiple actors. So I feel like he has a tendency to kind of like overhype things and get people's expectations up here. And then sometimes, he's delivered a lot. He's delivered on all the Guardians movies. I mean, those are some of my favorite movies. Suicide Squad was, pretty good. And Peacemaker season 1. And 2 was like good for what it was. But I think he's shooting himself in the foot and doing a disservice by overhyping, or overpromising, under-delivering. So, I didn't like really at all the finale. There was a couple good scenes that I did really like with his friend, the girl, I can't remember her name. It was Harcourt's daughter. Or not Harcourt's daughter. gosh darn it, I can't remember who it was. The other lady that was like the head of it, but her daughter, his friend, she gave a scene to him where she was like crying. I thought that was really good, and moving. But in all, I just didn't like the finale. It felt like it was a post-credit scene. Like, it felt like it was, I don't know how long it was, 40 minute like post-credit scene. Again, we didn't really get one fight, really. We had these random cameos from these random bands that people don't know. And it was just like a lot of like resolution for the final. And yeah, really did nothing to me. I kept thinking, I was sitting there, I kept thinking, okay, something's coming. And then as I was checking, I would pause it. I'd say, okay, there's, 30 minutes left. There's 20 minutes left. There's 15 minutes left. There's 10 minutes left. And I kept thinking, okay, this is going to be really hard to like get some sort of twist here and then like resolve that, or even have a cliffhanger, because, we're running out of time. And we got to the end. I was like, that's it. I think I audibly said like, that's it. Like, what the heck did I just watch? So I didn't like the final. I didn't like the band montage. Them taking him to the planet Salvation or whatever. Maybe that's interesting and a Man of Tomorrow, but I don't know. Didn't really do anything for that. Rick Flag Sr., I thought his motivation seemed kind of weird, and I didn't know if I was supposed to like the guy or not and what he's doing. I don't know. It just felt disorganized and felt like that all could have been like 2 post-credit scenes. So I didn't love that. Now, furthermore, on Peacemaker, I just don't like the direction that Peacemaker really went and that the DCU as a whole is going. By Superman, I didn't love Superman. I can get into more thoughts on that at a different time because that's going to be a long conversation. But the DCU in general, and utilizing Peacemaker specifically in the DCU, I don't love. I think that Peacemaker should be an Elseworlds story or movie or show. And the main reason for that is really 2 things. It doesn't have this sense of scale. It's kind of like a lower budget. And then when you do TV shows as well, like we've seen with Disney movies, I feel like it just cheapens everything. Like, again, if you would have done, for instance, the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV series, if you would have done that as a movie and taken that budget that was spread across however many episodes, 8 or 10, and put that into a movie and like condensed everything down, not had some of the stupid scenes like with Leia running around and these guys not able to catch her, then I think that it does better as a movie. Same with, I don't know with necessarily Peacemaker, but I just don't like that when TV shows and movies start to commingle, because I feel like it just cheapens the movie brand. And I don't feel like Peacemaker has that sense of scale. I think it's good for what it is. And it's like, I'll admit it's like entertaining and I liked it. I liked season 1 and I liked, some things about season 2, but I don't feel like this should be, your second or third DCU project when you're trying to launch this new DCU universe, right? You have, I guess, Creature Commandos, you had Superman, and I guess this is all that they have now. And so it just doesn't feel like, when Marvel launched, they had these really big, tentpole movies coming out and they were all connecting and post-credit scene, and you're starting to realize, wait, there's a bigger story here. I just don't get that feel with this, and I'm just not excited about where it's going. My other point is Peacemaker is, let's just say, what it is. It's very explicit. It's very vulgar, and this excludes a lot of people from being able to watch it, whether it's their own moral convictions or whether it's kids that can't watch it. And so, you say that you don't have to watch Peacemaker to watch Superman, but the reality is you kind of like they do tie together. And I also just don't feel like it's necessary. Like, I don't feel that, again, like what was it, episode 2 when they had that weird scene with all the naked people, like that was just so not necessary. And I feel like they're going for shock value. And that to me feels like, when a comedian's not funny and they try to make a joke and it's not coming across, so then they throw out like a cuss word and to try to make that joke funny. And then it just feels like they're trying too hard. That's what it feels like to me in Peacemaker. Like, I don't like that these worlds are merging of really explicit, vulgar content with, something like Superman that's supposed to be, very uplifting and, kids are supposed to watch it. because you know that kids are getting on HBO, like on their parents' accounts, and also watching this and being exposed to it. So I just don't think it's a net positive for society. Also, so that's frustrating. That's why I think it needs to be an Elseworlds thing, to where it's, you know, doing its own thing. It can be whatever it wants to be, and it's not tied into this bigger universe. So it feels like, you know, they're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, and James Gunn kind of forced this one to happen. And I think that they should have focused their efforts on other bigger IP like Batman, Wonder Woman. They're getting Supergirl made, and I'm actually really excited for that. So that's kind of my main thoughts with Peacemaker overall. You know, liked it, but I think it should be Elseworlds. Wish they wouldn't have all of the explicit content in it. And if they did, again, make it Elseworlds. And apart from that, have a larger sense of scale, which I just don't think you can do with the essence of Peacemaker, because the way it's shot and it being a TV show, it's lower budget, like per episode. And yeah, I just think the quality suffers. And then, like what's happening now, people went from being really excited for the DCU after Superman to really not being excited. It's been a while since I've seen, I don't know if I've ever seen people switch so fast, like on the direction of a project. Like, people were amped after Superman, which I wasn't. I didn't love Superman, but then Peacemaker 2, I started to get the sense that people are like, okay, like what's going on here? And then after that last episode, people just, you know, kind of went the complete opposite direction. So, you know, nothing on James Gunn. I think he's a really solid director. And I think he makes great movies, and I think he's a good dude. I just don't like Peacemaker being a main part of this DCU. I just don't think it's a good call. So, anywho, that's my thoughts. Let's get into Twitter here and see what the people got to say. Always got to hear from the people, the common folk, the average Joes. Okay, you can't even spoil this finale because nothing happened. I'm crying. Now we're going to go through the thread of this. Season 2 finale. Mark Fitzgerald says season 2 finale without context. Oh, because the doors. He's just opening the door. Yeah, that kind of feels about right. Spoiler warning. That's more or less what happens to Peacemaker when he ends up on Salvation at the very end. Nice Guy Eddie says people need to learn narrative structure. The ultimate episode is a climax. Dude, that's a big word. The penultimate episode is a climax. Never even heard the word penultimate in my life. The finale is the denouement. Okay, dude, you're just trying to sound smart. You're just using these big words, knowing that most people aren't gonna know what they are. What I think you're trying to say is this is normal in story structure. It ain't. Not in TV structure. In movie structure, yeah, you're gonna have the climax, and then you're gonna have that final third act where it's all wrapping everything up, and you know, you get resolution or you don't get resolution, yada yada yada. In TV show finales, no, the climax is in the final episode, and then there's a little bit of resolution usually after, or you're left on a cliffhanger. Like that happens often a lot as well. Like on Lost, that happened very often on their season, where it'd end on a climax, and you're just like what the frick's gonna happen? So I disagree with you on that. Why would he say this to set up disappointment? Let's see what he said. James Gunn teases major DC cameos in the final episodes of Peacemaker Season 2. We have some really big stars from the DC Universe that are going to be near the end of the season. Yeah, like I guess Lex Luthor, but what episode was he? Wasn't he like halfway through the season? Again, we're just setting the expectation all the way up here, and then we landed here. Jay Foos 41 says James Gunn, like, this is the craziest thing I've ever made. Dude, not one thing made me go wow at all, to be honest. Not one cameo, not one exciting thing in this episode, nor season, to be honest. True, kind of true. The one part that made me go, that was a cool and interesting twist in this, wasn't Lex Luthor. I didn't really care about that. Was at the end of, I can't remember, but when you basically found out that like Hitler, I guess, had won the war, and that this whole society was, I guess you'd call it like Nazis. I don't know, but I thought that was really interesting because I didn't even see that coming. So I thought that was an interesting twist. Patty Ness says, y'all just lying for what LMAO, loads of things Oh, y'all are just lying for what? I get it. Okay. Well, let's use a little bit of punctuation and grammar there, would we? Come on. John Locke. I was scared to go on Twitter the whole time the episode was added just to find out there was nothing to be scared about. That's kind of how I felt. Checkmate. CJ, this literally just felt like a pilot to the Checkmate show rather than a finale to Peacemaker, and I don't want to watch a pilot to a new show. Is there going to be a Checkmate show? Huh. Okay, not going to go through that one. It's inappropriate. Huh. Okay, season 1 was so much better, Bell. I think if it wasn't for the season 2 finale, I might have actually liked season 2 better, but the season 2 finale took it from like here to here. So, yeah, I don't know. Only thing that happened is that Chris is stranded in another dimension that Flag Senior wants to use as prison for metahumans. Literally nothing else happened. True. Again, to my point, right? That's a post-credit scene. That could have easily been a 1-minute post-credit scene. Like, easy. And then if you want to do the music videos and introduce those bands, another post-credit scene. Do it. Easy. Pop Glory, not a single cameo despite all the hype and teasing. Yeah, that's what a lot of people are saying. So, oh heck yeah. This is is this SpongeBob guy? That's it. Oh gosh, dude. I love me a good meme gif, whatever you want to call it. The finale sucked balls and there's not going to be another season. Yeah. Yeah. It literally got worse throughout the episode. I agree. Because I just kept thinking, surely we're going to turn this around. And then once we got to like the 15-minute mark, and I'm like, they usually have like 6 minutes of credits. I was like, gosh darn it, we're not doing anything here. I don't like it. I don't like what it's doing. Surely they released the wrong episode on accident, says JJ. That's what I was thinking. You know, there's this guy on Instagram that teased. He came out a couple days ago and did this whole fake James Gunn Twitter thing where it was James Gunn saying, you all thought that was the finale. Tune in tonight for the actual season finale. And I was like, yes, okay, that makes sense. This was all a marketing gimmick. That's genius. I love it. Okay, sure. I knew that wasn't the end. Turns out that guy was just lying, and that James Gunn tweet wasn't real, and that it actually is the end. So that was kind of upsetting. All right, well, as we can see, the sentiment from the common folk is that James Gunn kind of shafted us on that final episode. He got us all hyped, all ready to go, and then literally nothing happened. Except there was a good scene between Peacemaker and his friend in the hotel room. That was good. I'll give him that. So anyway, yeah, that's my thoughts, y'all. Did you guys watch the Peacemaker finale? Did you like it, or were you let down like I was? And are you excited for the future of the DCU? That's really what I want to know, is where's your excitement levels for the future of the DCU? So let me know in the comments below. Let me know in the chat. And yeah, I'm actually not going to I'm not going to move on to my next topic because there's not a next topic. So that is it for today's episode. Thank you for tuning in. If you made it to the very end here, I greatly appreciate it. I don't know what time we're at, but it feels like it was a longer. Oh wow, it was a longer one. We're at 1 hour and 45 minutes. So we did a long one today. So if you made it to the end, thanks for tuning in. And until the next time, God bless and stay safe out there.